Welcome to the Men Who Stare at Cups. My name is Drew.
I'm Bryan.
And we are live from Phoenix Ridge.
Phoenix Ridge Studios.
I like that. Phoenix Ridge Studios.
Yes.
All right.
We got this cool set. I mean, come on.
Why not? Okay, so in the last episode, which is set to premiere, I think while we're talking here.
Okay.
What we really talked about was existentialism and late stage capitalism.
Yes, we did.
And the problem here is that as you search for meaning, one of the first things that men do is they say, well, how do I get enough money to get free so that I can do what I want?
Absolutely.
The issue with that is that what that does is it prioritizes money over what you want.
Yes. Yes, it does.
Which prioritizes money over who you are.
Okay.
Because you're saying, okay, look, I want money, so I'm willing to sacrifice who I am so that I can be free, so that I can then do what I want unrestricted.
Sure.
The problem with that is that once you get the money, you won't remember who you are anymore. That's the problem with the crypto ghouls.
That happens. Oh, we're going right to crypto ghouls.
I mean, that's just what happens.
Yeah.
Because what happens is that what you want is to get what you want in the manner in which you want it. The lie that we all tend to believe is that if you get enough money, you can skip the heartache to just get what you want. But it's not the case, because money can't solve the character issues that prevent you from having what you want right now.
No, it can exacerbate them.
It just makes them worse.
I mean, we all know about the whole lottery phenomenon. People
Right.
who win the lottery often go completely insane.
And it has a 100% divorce rate.
100%.
100%.
100%.
There's a certain number, like over $1 million, it's a 100% divorce rate.
Wow.
So the thing I've been kind of wrestling with lately is that the greatest task for man, and I want to say for humans, but I can't speak to women, but I'll speak to men. I think the greatest challenge for a man is to figure out the manner and the conditions under which you want to die.
Okay. How will I be awaited in Valhalla?
Yeah, like, okay,
what will I wear?
Okay, what, so a lot of people would like to ascribe this as, what's my legacy that I'm going to leave? I hate the idea of legacy. I hate the concept of legacy, because in the, billions of years on the planet, you don't have a legacy. It's not really real.
And you're dead.
And you're dead, and you don't care.
You're dead.
So
you shouldn't care. Even if you could care, say it is possible to care after death. Should you?
No.
You're on to the next thing, whatever that is.
Correct.
Yeah.
So the only challenge you have to figure out is, how do you want to die? So that when you're dying, whether it's on your deathbed or doing the thing you love or whatever, right? The world is in an existing condition that is better than you found it, according to you. That you are satisfied in the days that you spend on the earth, and that you are knowing that you are leaving the world going in a direction that is something that you hold to be of value. And that value will not be your bank account or the amount of money you have.
No, of course not.
Right.
It reminds me of, there's an old bumper sticker, I think it was popular in like the 80s and 90s, and it said, whoever dies with the most toys wins. It's an old boomer,
I love that one.
It's an old boomer meme, and my stepdad would see that and he would lose his shit every time. He'd be like, no, whoever dies with the most toys dies. That's not the point. And he would get so mad. It's like, goddamn yuppies.
I would actually put that bumper sticker on my car.
Yeah.
As an ironic thing.
Yeah.
Right? Just because it's so absurd.
It is.
It is. So we got these stages of manhood. I think that one of the hardest things about manhood is that every man is born running. He's not necessarily fleeing from something he's scared of. right? So man has the intrinsic North Star thing that man's looking for. So every man is born,
Guiding light.
running. Initially, as a child, you're running towards the thing that you're imagining. And adolescence, you tend to be running away from the mistakes of your parents. In early, like I don't want to be like this, or I don't want to be like that.
Oh,
okay.
Yep.
So and then you start running towards. You start having these kind of goals, right? And then you kind of get in this block where you're thinking, okay, I'm going to do the self-discovery thing or whatever. But when you pick up a book and start pursuing some new intellectual concept, you're still running. You're still in the running piece. Because if you were satisfied and if you knew, you would not be needing that additional thing. You would already have accepted yourself as you are.
So, if you've accepted yourself as you are, would you never be curious to want to know what Foucault thought about things or something?
It's not necessarily that. It's the intent of the reading. So, like, if you're reading for the purpose of self-discovery, right?
Right.
If you're reading with the intent to, like,
this is going to change my
watch
life.
Watch a YouTube video to learn how to build a shower, right?
Yeah.
That's learning until you have enough information to go out and solve a problem that you're trying to solve.
Got it.
Right? So I think that every person kind of has this running thing. And then after you're running towards this, running away from the stuff, you start running towards stuff. And then what you're chasing down a lot of times is this idea that if you can catch up to the bastard you don't want to be, you just might be able to kill him.
I never heard it phrased like that. Huh?
Yeah, like everyone's trying to run to catch their own insanity so that they can overcome it, overtake it. And there's this thought that in doing so, that they will arrive somewhere.
That ironically kind of sounds insane.
It does sound insane, but I can't escape the fact that as I run towards something, a lot of times what I'm running towards is the person I don't want to be for the express purpose of defeating that person.
Ooh.
It's gnarly.
It's a tragedy.
It is a tragedy, but it's almost I can't escape that. It seems to me to be the masculine journey, right? And a lot of times the person that you're like, so Joseph Campbell phrases it up in the idea of one must slay the father, overtake the father, overcome the father. So you got all this kind of ancestral collective unconscious, right? Mm-hmm. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to run to the mistakes of the collective where you see it fit, and then you're trying to overtake it to make the world a little bit better, right? But what I can't understand is all this constant running. What is the heart of man really looking for? Home.
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 Okay.
Because when you're home, you don't feel that need to run. It's finally settled, right? And this settling of the human soul, where to adequately describe what a settled soul is, the settled soul wants what it already has. The settled soul has expectations that are in line with what is. And the settled soul accepts things as they are. And then behaves in a way that's not frenetic, fear-oriented.
Not delusional. Not
delusional.
Not necessarily completely complacent, but like, here are the boundaries, and here's what we're doing. I don't know. Maybe it's why I like driving so much, because while I'm driving from point A to point B, I know that that's what's happening. And everything else around it is just kind of nice. It's like a bonus. Like, oh, awesome song.
Yeah.
Awesome podcast. Awesome friend.
Yeah,
awesome
and you're right where you are.
And you're right where you need to be.
Right.
Because that's what you're doing in that time. And it's this beautiful liminal.
And there's a way of understanding.
We talk about those liminal periods.
The speed at which you're going, right? And the speed at which you're arriving to wherever it is that you are going. And then whenever you get to where you're arriving, you feel perfectly fine with the amount of time it took.
Yeah.
You feel perfectly fine with where you are now.
Yeah.
And you feel perfectly fine with all of those sort of things.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems to me that the problem with existentialism, or the problem that existentialism is actually trying to solve, technically speaking, is how to help you manage expectations.
Manage expectations.
That's it.
Okay.
What is the meaning
Perhaps
of...
lower them a little bit? Perhaps raise them a little bit at times?
Depending on where you are.
Sure.
You know, if you're the guy who's in his room and, you know, life is meaningless and life is pointless and, you know, you're that kind of, you know, low-level lobster, then, yeah, it's going to be to elevate those. The issue, though, is that with hustle culture and the late-stage capitalism, where what we're trying to do is we're trying to provide the most hype, the most entertainment. We're trying to take things that used to have value and we're trying to make them a fundamental source of entertainment, because entertainment is more valuable, it's more scalable, and it's more, by valuable I mean it's more monetarily valuable, and it's more scalable. It has all these aspects, right? But all of that stuff starts melting down because the expectations is that you're going to be one of those people, and the odds are just not that that's going to be the case, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, your odds of actually succeeding are like, you know, 0.1%, if that's what you're trying to do.
So the word Kafka-esque relevant here? Right?
Kafka-esque?
Or the hyper dystopic world where the free market collapses on itself because it no longer serves the function it's supposed to. It just becomes really absurd.
Right, and that's what's happening, clearly. Mm-hmm. I mean, Colorado Gators really proves this idea.
Colorado Gators.
You know, a tilapia farm that brought in alligators to help with their trash that wound up becoming an alligator theme park. And they no longer provide value other than to put fingers that have been bitten off on display in formaldehyde in the lobby. I mean, it sounds like the introduction of a Chuck Palahniuk book, honestly.
Totally, especially the way you just said.
I mean, thank you.
Was that burnt tongue?
Not necessarily, maybe, perhaps. So what I'm thinking about now is that the dialing in of expectations doesn't mean that you don't do great things or really cool things.
Yeah.
So I recently did a mountaineering trip. Okay. And I did the hardest traverse, which is where you hike from one peak to another peak along a ridgeline. I did the hardest traverse in Colorado. So it's from Mount Little Bear to Mount Blanca. And then we did another mountain called Ellingwood. So we did 3 14,000-foot peaks in one day. Right? And to be clear, this is a super epic trip. All right? Now, I drove up a week and a half ago to look at the snow levels to see if I had enough clarity with the snow and the ice. Okay? I kept my eye on the weather to make sure that whatever day we chose to do this, because if you get caught on that ridge with any weather, you're just screwed. So I made sure we waited for the weather window, right?
Yep.
We made camp the night before, early, 5 o'clock. We got a good dinner. We got good food. We were up at 4 o'clock in the morning, right?
Yep.
And my thoughts were, okay, I want to summit this peak at this time. I want to be on the ridge at this time. I want to summit the next peak at this time. I want to summit the third peak at this time. And then I'd like to be down below cloud level or below cloud danger at this time. And you know what? It was an incredibly hard hike, wildly epic, and we hit all of the times very smoothly. At the end of the day, we were 15 minutes ahead of schedule. Okay, great. But at no point did I ever feel rushed. I never felt behind. I knew that I was in process of doing something incredibly epic.
Yeah.
And I was happy that I was in the process of doing something epic. And I was okay with all of the expectations of how long each thing was going to take. And at the end of it, we did something epic. It was amazing. And my expectations were hit from the timing perspective because they were appropriate, because I've climbed enough times to know where I should be and where I should and shouldn't be at what time. And I'm wondering, do we even know how to do that anymore?
That's interesting. So, listening to you explain your state of mind. So let me just kind of reiterate here. So you're doing something incredibly epic, but you have it plotted out in such a way that it's almost like it's just in a Zen-like sort of way. It's there, you're present, it's happening. This is you're just staying the path. You're staying the course. Yeah. Now, in theory, had you not mentally and in a more literal sense prepared for that, your mind could have been all over the place, perhaps caught up in, oh, this is so epic. Yeah, then that could very easily throw you.
Yeah.
So it reminds me of course, I'm going to use a music analogy because I'm the music guy. When I'm playing bass with a band, and whether I'm entirely confident with the material or I'm like, there might be some bumps here, I don't know. I always get myself into that mentality. Okay, the song is going to start, it's going to end, and I almost sort of take a back seat to everything.
Right.
Like, it's almost like I kind of leave my body in a way. Yeah. And not to say it's like on autopilot, but sort of. But I am, of course, I'm present. Like, beyond present, even. I'm so present. So present that I'm almost not present. It's just happening, and it's blissful.
Right.
It's blissful, and I know, too, like, okay, even if we did screw up the song, it doesn't matter, because that was a bump, and we just kept going.
Right.
Because I know if I have that attitude, and I can count on my drummer to have that attitude, and I'm sure the front guy, he's just going to keep plowing through. I know that everything's going to be all right. Or that's the feeling I have anyway.
Yeah.
And I just don't let any silly thoughts get in the way. Correct. Now, earlier on in my younger years in music, I remember, occasionally, like, I would get in my head, and that's when I'd mess up.
Yep.
Or ask anyone that does, anything like that. Yeah. Anything.
Yeah, if you become your own watcher, you're gonna screw it up.
Yeah.
Well, and one of the things I'm really getting at is that I've been climbing for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
I've climbed over 60, 14,000 foot peaks. Some of them multiple times or whatever. But just I've done 60 trips to 14,000 feet.
Nice.
And really, what made this trip amazing was that I brought a level of maturity to my climbing that I historically have not brought. And a lot of that comes from having had knee surgery. Because I was very aware of the fact that, like, I've had knee surgery. So I can't just mash things out. I actually have to be much more methodical, much more purposeful. And then, finally, the thing that makes the journey so amazing. So, and I'm not sure, I haven't really thought this through, so just bear with me while I'm working this out.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a part in the climb when you go up this chimney, and the chimney is called the Hourglass, and rock falls through this chimney, and it has a squeeze point of about 5 feet in width.
Can you explain the chimney?
Yeah, so a chimney is kind of like it's just like a big giant gully.
Okay.
A really steep gully. And you're climbing up it, and it has this 5 foot pinch point, and all this loose rock 500 feet above you. Oof. And if one of those rocks falls while you're in the chimney, you will be hit by the rock. And they're big rocks, like microwave size rocks.
Oof.
And so they'll probably kill you. And somebody dies in this chimney all the time. And it's really easy to go, it's not easy, but it's much easier to go up the chimney than it is to go down it. So once you go through the chimney and you get to the top, you're pretty much on that ridge. Like, you are now doing this ridge, and there is no descent. There's no going back. And so here you are, and this is it. Jesus has this line where he says that those who, after putting their hand to the plow, if they look back with things were better with the way they used to be,
Yeah.
you're not worthy of the plow. Not worthy of the work. Does that make sense?
It does.
So I'm kind of relating that now. Now I will bring it home to Phoenix Ridge. Right? Because you and I both have had enough struggles over the last 6 months, which is why we haven't put out a whole lot of content.
Yep.
Because there's this kind of feeling where you're like, well, I'm struggling right now, so I don't really want to put out a bunch of content because I'm struggling. Struggling with, building the house or just, the business stuff or whatever, right? And you're like, I don't want to put this. But the thing is at what point do you say to yourself, okay, we've gone up the chimney, we're here, and now the only thing left to do is the thing itself. There is no going back. We're just doing a thing. And this is it.
Keep going.
It's literally impossible to go back.
Yeah.
And I think that once a man has made a decision at that level, that going back, I guess it's theoretically possible.
But it's just as dangerous as going forward.
Correct.
Yeah.
And it's infinitely more demoralizing.
Yeah, why not go forward?
So there is a positive side to the why not argument. Where a lot of people, like when they relapse in, AA or whatever, the last, famous last words is screw it, right? Why not?
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
The worst tattoo I ever saw was on this person, and the tattoo just said why not on
Why
there.
not?
Yeah, and it's why not? I mean, because you're an idiot. That's why not. But
there's also the infamous kid with no rugrats.
No rugrats?
Yeah. Regrets. Regrets, yeah.
I guess so I guess when it comes to, and this is the hardest part about hopes and dreams. Hopes and dreams are easy if you can get yourself onto the ridge, wherein going back is pretty much impossible. And going forward is not only what you want to do, it's not only what you set out to do, but it's also relatively impossible to go back. And when you're in that space, all of a sudden, the Zen space hits. Now, when does the Zen space leave you again? When you start having expectations about what you're going to do next.
Yeah.
Right?
That's when it happens.
So you're doing the podcast is going good. You've got...
Like right now, we're in the driver's seat. We're walking on the ridge.
I mean, we're not even there. We're still in this case, we're still like... I
mean, literally right this second.
Right this second, we're walking on the ridge, and there's nothing to do but the thing itself, and that's why the active part of doing it...
What am I going to do? Get bored and be like, you know what? I don't really want to do this right now. Guys. I mean, I guess we'll still post the episode, but I don't know. I just kind of...
All right, I'm out. Yeah, no, you're not going to do it. So
I started playing Mass Effect again, like...
It's more fun to sit here and do the deal because, as soon as you hit record and then you sit down and you do the thing, all of a sudden, you're up. You're in it.
Yeah.
Zen.
It's comforting.
It is comforting.
It's like hard to describe.
You're doing the thing that you wanted to do, that you set out to do, and now you're in it, and you're right. In this case right here, we have another 20 minutes of just space to fill.
And it's limited. We're very limited right now. We're restrained. We have chosen, in this paradigm right now, we have very few options.
Yeah. What are we going to start talking about? Quantum mechanics? I don't know anything about it, right?
I mean, we could, but I just mean we're sitting here talking. And we're gonna keep doing it. Yeah, and I'm just saying the irony of what I just said. I was trying to be funny there, but the thought never crosses my mind. Do you want to stop doing this right now? Right. Because I'm in it. It's happening.
That's right.
It's I'm here. We're doing the thing.
So when you give yourself the option to look back, to get off the ridge, it's somehow like the most demoralizing thing in the world is when you give yourself the option to quit.
Yeah.
And maybe existentialism is trying to answer the question of why continue on in the face of suffering. Maybe it's trying to answer the, like,
yeah,
who am I in the midst of this? But it's always kind of a lot, not always, but it's so often it's couched in the looking back and trying to find meaning in what's back. And then trying to somehow like redeem that which is in the past to bend it into the future to provide meaning. To force your previous suffering into meaning right now. Right now doesn't need to have the context of the suffering in the past. It can just be awesome.
Yeah.
And it doesn't need to be awesome because you're so manic about the future.
Sure.
It can just be awesome. Without this other stuff. So it's like the hardest thing to do with the whole late stage capitalism, I want to make a bunch of money so I can be free so that I can then go do what I want, is by the time you eventually get up onto some sort of ridge you want to be on, you don't have the chops to stay there. You just haven't climbed enough mountains. You just haven't done enough podcasts. You haven't done enough. You're not good enough to do the thing you want to do because you got good at doing something you don't even like.
Yeah, that's true.
And we always do this. We get so good at things we don't like.
I have heard some people give the advice like, well, figure out what your passion is.
Yeah.
Find your way to make money, whatever the hell it is, and then use that money to do the thing you like. So that way the thing that you like doesn't become your primary vocation, because then you won't like it anymore because it's your job. Right? I've heard that advice before. But then I've also seen people make things that they love, their jobs, and become legendary and seem extremely happy.
Well, let's talk about this because I've given people similar advice.
Yeah.
Right? I'm definitely one of those guys who's definitely put his what I want on the back burner for the vast majority of my life in pursuit of trying to make enough finances. And of course, like learn and grow and become, develop my skill set along the way, which I've got many skills that I can do. And I'm happy with this. But why do people, well, I will speak for myself. The reason that I dislike the job sometimes is because 80% of the job isn't doing the thing that makes the job fun.
Yeah.
So let's say that
that's reality for
what you love is rock climbing, right? And you're a professional rock climber, or you're a professional musician, right? We can use anything. You're a professional anything who's getting paid to perform, to do what you love at a high level. But do rock stars love photo shoots?
I imagine they get old pretty quick.
Do rock stars love to meet with their attorneys all of the time regarding the royalties?
No.
Okay. Do rock stars love doing press releases?
Yeah, maybe the first couple times out of novelty, but probably not.
Do rock stars love the paperwork, the uploading, protecting trademark, hiring lawyers to go out and get people who've infringed upon their creative rights? Oh, you don't like that? Because I guarantee you by the time you're a legendary musician, 80% of the phone calls you take are about paperwork, legal, taxes, travel, itinerary, bus rides, roadies, how to technically get your stage moved out, how to get the drum kit moved, who's going to set that thing up every single time, right? The amount of things
logistics.
Yeah. All of that goes in so that you can play music for 3 hours.
3 hours.
And then reset and spend 90 hours getting to the next city so you can play music for 2 hours.
Yep.
Okay. That's why people say, well, don't do the if you want to make money doing the thing you love, right? And then you ask those musicians, and a lot of them will probably argue and say, I'd probably be happier just playing music where I live and having a job and not having the 90 hours of work that goes into playing for 2 hours so that I can play in front of 400 more people. But if somehow you set your expectations such that you were aware that that was what all of that stuff was going to happen, that that's what the career was, you wouldn't be bothered by meeting with the attorneys. Because you would already know that, look, that's part of the job. You wouldn't be bothered by, the guy who set up the drum kit a little incorrectly. I mean, you would be, but you understand that that's part of the logistics. And I think at the end of the day, people don't get their dreams because they have an incorrect expectation with regards to logistics.
Sure. Yeah. Well, that's not the part you fantasize about.
Right.
That's the part you romanticize. They leave that stuff out of the what do you call them?
A documentary.
Yeah, the fake documentary.
The Spinal Tap or something.
Yeah. They leave that stuff out.
Yeah.
It's only the fantasy moments because it's a fantasy film.
Right.
And we watch a lot of those movies in our head, I think.
I think that we do.
Yeah.
And I think that
invent them and sort of strangely pursue them, but like on one hand, it's wonderful to dream and be driven by a romantic purpose, but then on the other hand, it's like, whoa, but you do have to realize what the reality of those things really does entail, or else you're going to have your head in the clouds, which means you're either going to fail miserably or maybe even be taken advantage of too, because you're just so unrealistic, those vultures, man, especially if you're talking entertainment.
Right.
Oh yeah, they'll coke you up and get you some escorts and tools and assets and whatnot.
Tools and assets.
Sign this. Of course. I trust you with my life.
Yeah.
We just partied, bro.
So what do we do then? What do we do? How do we? So one of the things that we've talked about with Phoenix Ridge, right? We've talked about a few things, few aspects of it.
Should we mention what that is, just in case we have?
Phoenix Ridge is the property wherein Bryan and I discuss this stuff. It's just a place.
It's a cool place.
It's a physical location.
It's a physical location.
It's a physical location that this exists in. So, in my thinking about it, my dream has always been to have Phoenix Ridge as kind of a hub to be able to create a place for people to kind of come here and do that kind of inner work.
Okay.
Get in their bodies, get present, really, tackle this existentialist stuff, sort out your hierarchy of values.
And meet some like-minded people that are doing the same thing.
Exactly.
Get a little camaraderie going, maybe help push through some of those silly blockages.
Yeah.
Make some friends.
Yeah. So, and so I have a fantasy that is a fantasy, which is that Phoenix Ridge becomes a place to be able to put on large-scale it becomes like a hub where we can have people working here or whatever, and then we can have like a big, giant existentialism event in Denver. Okay? And I think the fantasy there is to, have a microphone and clapping people, and do this kind of Tony Robbins-y, very tropey motivational speaking thing.
Okay.
So in the way that you have, I'm assuming, some sort of fantasies about, playing a gig at Red Rocks.
Sure.
I would have the same fantasies of motivational speaking.
Right. Yeah.
So what you have to do, though, is fall in love with the logistics. And by the time you actually become the guy that plays at Red Rocks, it's not even a thing anymore because it's just
the same as all the other
mountain.
ones.
Like, it's just where you're supposed to be at this certain time. And you knew all the logistics, you knew all the preparation, 20 years of climbing. And with 20 years of climbing, still 2 weeks of prep, an entire backpacking trip just to look at the snow levels. And then you finally get on the summit, and it's not adrenaline filled, it's actually full of peace. Because this is where I'm supposed to be, Because the logistics were there, and the skill was there, and so you're here.
So it kind of, you take the fantasy part, we'll just call it the orgasm, if you will.
Sure.
The
The
peak.
climax.
The pinnacle.
The zenith. The acme.
Are there any more?
The apex. Yeah, there's yeah.
Okay, so Mr. Thesaurus over here with the big words.
Like when you're in business marketing, okay,
Yeah.
the first thing that people ask you, and they're trying to create a business name, is what is the synonym for the top? And so you just Google zenith, and it always winds up with zenith, pinnacle, climax, summit, apex, acme.
Brink?
No, yeah, I wouldn't say brink. Some just that kind of stuff. So, sorry. That's why I know. That's why I'm able to spit out enough of those.
Good on you. And so...
Murdered a string of thoughts.
No, we're good.
Oh, good.
I'm really good at capturing.
Yeah, you are.
It's like one of my superpowers. It compresses that peak, that mentality. So doesn't it? But I know what you're talking about, though, and I know the feeling, and it does not devalue it.
No.
At all. In fact, it makes it better, but it brings it down. Even though it still is that peak, like, hey, you made it, boy, you're playing Red Rocks. Hey, you made it, you're doing this incredible feat of mountaineering. But like, it brings it down to like, yeah, that's...
There's no,
yes.
so there becomes...
it makes it more equal to the part where you were packing your bags.
Yeah.
Or checking the weather.
Same.
Or working out.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
all
the same because it's all part of the same process that goes from point A to point B.
It's all part of the summit.
It's all the summit. You're on the summit all the time.
You're never not. If logistics and hard work are valued at the same level of the thing you want, then when you're paying taxes or doing whatever, you're playing Red Rocks already.
Well, yeah, because it's all in preparation in some sense for those moments, but not just preparation, but like you're living as someone who does that.
Yeah.
So you're kind of spiritually always there where you want to be because most of what you do works towards that.
So you're settled.
So you look at, yeah.
Your soul is settled because you are where you want to be.
That sounds like a wonderful place to be, where you want to be. And you are. And
you have what you want and you want what you have.
So I can't help but think of this, there's a subreddit that's become massively popular. So if you were to go to Reddit and just look at the trash heap that is the front page there, you would see Antiwork.
Okay.
And it's exactly what you think it is. I mean, yeah, is it they seem to be talking about...
Is it anti-work or is it anti-grind?
I think it's straight up anti-work. I don't know. I don't want to straw man it. But I can see some legitimate concerns about like the absurdities that we're talking about with late stage capitalism.
Right.
Or yeah, like what you just said, grinding for no purpose. But they're really throwing the baby out with the bathwater entirely, and I can't help but think a lot of these... Again, I hope I'm not just completely straw manning it. Maybe I am. But I can't help but think, okay, well, you just got a lot of people that just, their heads are in the clouds. You know, they have that sort of millennial thing where it's like, yeah, I was told I could be anything. And like nobody ever told them anything like you just said about how that, you know, you do have to kind of fall in love with the logistics of things a little bit to get to where you're going, or maybe set some kind of goal.
Well, what on earth is going to make the logistics worth doing?
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to be completely anti-sympathetic
this is just
to like what they're
Nietzsche's idea
upset about. Like, I get it.
A man can accomplish anyhow if he has but a why.
I love that one. Yeah.
Right? It's a classic. I mean, that's why Simon Sinek wrote that book, Start With Why, and it, you know, it was a super bestseller and you know, great, good leadership book guy, Simon Sinek, whatever. I've read his collective body of work, and he's very good. But all except for the fact that he ganked the title and he doesn't credit Nietzsche in his book, which kind of bothers me a little bit. But that's not the point. He used it as a writing prompt, which is fine. Why would you go through the logistics? Right? Why would you? Because you want this other thing. So how do you get this thing that you want? Well, how do you do it? Is you got to play scales for 3 hours a day for 4 years. How do you get there? Well, you got to climb these, slog crap mountains. How do you eat an elephant?
In one giant bite.
I was gonna say with a blender, but yeah, exactly. It's gross, man. But yeah, the one bite at a time, and we just don't have this idea of how do I even know what I want. So I think the anti-work people wouldn't be anti-work if they knew what they wanted, because you're not. If you know what you want and you're progressing towards what you want,
it's like a video game.
You don't feel like you're working. You feel like you're just like leveling up. Grinding.
It's fun to go out into the woods and smack the bunny rabbits upside the head because you got clobbered by the boss, and you've come up with a strategy to be able to beat the boss, which requires you level up this skill and then go find this sword. Suddenly, thwapping the bunnies on the head, it's kind of enjoyable.
Yeah,
because you have a point.
Yeah,
right. So if you're,
so that's what this podcast is.
Yeah.
We do this podcast, like one of the things that I have solely relied on with this podcast is to help me organize my thoughts, right?
It is good for that.
It is. And settle them, and then decide which ones I think are total trash.
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm. Like I'm becoming more firmly planted in the idea of if I believe that we live in a techocracy, right, with the 5 tech companies ruling the world. If I believe that those 5 tech companies that rule the world are mostly driving this idea of entertainment as the most valuable thing. Entertainment or convenience. Either I would actually put them as synonymous with each other.
Oh, and now inclusivity?
Okay.
Anyone can do it.
Anyone
can enjoy our products 24/7.
Yeah, this is good for everybody. Whatever. So this idea that if you're, look, entertainment, fine. Convenience, fine. Okay. But if your goal in life is to be entertained and convenienced, then the notion of discipline and work is deeply offensive.
Absolutely.
Because your priorities...
Offensive. Yeah, like you have been personally assaulted.
Because your priority is towards entertainment and convenience. So any work thrust upon you is offensive. Now, the question is does that mean that work that you thrust upon yourself, are you being like self-abusive? Right?
If you believe that, I guess.
If you believe... Right, and that's the problem with saying I'm anti-work.
It's a silly.
Now, I have delved into the anti-work thing, and I have watched some YouTube videos on it.
Yeah.
And from what I can tell, it's basically anti-corporate grind.
Well, if you say that, I kind of get it.
Yeah, it's
anti-work. It's like, why are you strawmanning yourselves?
Yeah. In Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Work Week, he talks about the first thing to get rid of is work for work's sake. Right.
You want work to have a purpose.
All work must have an express purpose that is important to you for where you want to go.
Well, even if it does mean having a corporate grind.
That's right.
You go ahead and you take that job, and you do so, and it's swamping the bunny rabbits in the woods because you have a plan.
I've always felt that corporate work jobs are great places to be spoon-fed skill sets that you would otherwise have a very difficult time learning on your own.
I could see that.
Why not go and work for a corporate company for 2 years, and that you're going to learn the skill set you wanted. And if you get in there and you're 2 months in, and you find out that they're not going to teach you anything, you can get out.
Sure.
Well, when I first got started in my universe, in the algorithm, selling products on the internet space, I went and worked for one of the largest web developers in Orange County. I worked for a company doing online advertising for like selling Google ads and stuff, right? And then I went with another company that was selling ads, kind of pre-Google type thing. So I spent 3 years with 3 large corporations learning all of these things, and then the second I walked out of it, I already was like, I had been spoon-fed a master's degree in internet marketing.
Sure. Yeah.
And I made good money while doing that, right?
Mm.
Now, of course, now I feel like Lando Calrissian, which we've talked. I don't know if we've ever talked about. We never talked about this on the podcast, right?
I don't think so, but I'm quite sure I know what you're getting at.
Yeah, that I deeply feel like I am a merchant in service to the empire now.
Lando.
And I can't really escape that feeling that like I'm no, in my own mind I'm no longer Luke, I am Lando, and I'm not sure exactly how to regain the territory of the hero's journey because Lando's got responsibilities, man.
He's got bills to pay.
You know, he's got a city to run. You know.
Surely you understand. You would do the same thing if you were me.
He does not have time to go to Yoda for like 3 months to the Dagobah system to like learn how to like float rocks and stuff. Nope. While you're standing on your head and this little green guy is whacking you with a stick.
Hey, nobody got time for that.
Ain't Lando got time for that. No. So what's he got to do? You know, hell, look, man.
He's got to make ends meet. It's all about the bottom line.
So the recapturing the human soul. To spend some time thinking about how you want to die. Like, what are the conditions that you can say, the conditions have been met and I can die in peace?
Yeah.
I think it's the most, I think it's the question that must be answered. That gives the logistics context. That the logistics have no context if you don't say, look, here's the deal. And the reason, okay, so you might ask, okay, Drew, you're being really morbid. Why does it have to be wrapped around death? Because it's the only way you can circumnavigate the damn money problem.
Okay, you've got my attention.
So by stating, I want to die in this manner, or these are the circumstances under which I'm perfectly acceptable, I'm perfectly willing to die. This is how I would, and then like the ultimate one. So like if I died mountaineering, look, I get it. I love to do it. All right. It is a risk. It's a risk I take, you know. I love to do all kinds of things. And you accept the risks based on that. Because that's, to me, you know, if my kids are like, oh, your kids don't have a dad anymore. Well, I still set the example of dying doing the thing you love. Which is, anything that's dying doing the thing you love. Like the rock star that's dancing around barefoot and steps on the frayed wire and dies on stage. That happens. I've heard of like 3 instances where that happens.
Really?
Yeah. And, all right, die doing the thing you love. Okay, so we have this idea of dying doing the thing you love. That is perfectly fine. Okay?
Dying with your boots on.
Yeah. That going to Valhalla, great. Okay? Dying in a car accident, I just can't stand that one.
You know when you're watching a movie and you know it's about to happen too?
It's the worst.
Yeah. It's worse than the accident itself. You're like, they're about to die.
Yeah. Okay,
you just tell the way they're doing the beats and everything. It's going to go.
So then you're like, okay, well, what's the next set of circumstances? Well, the next set of circumstances, I would like to have these experiences. Right? These are the things I would like to see, feel, touch, explore, taste, right? I have a set of circumstances and experiences that I think are imperative to the human experience.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to have all the experiences that you think make up the human experience.
Okay. Yeah.
Good or bad.
Yep.
And your shadow will drive you towards the bad ones. And hopefully that will reveal what you do want because you've now experienced what you don't want. Which is fair. So once you have established you want to have this collective set of experiences, then it's probably something like, well, how do we ensure that other people get to keep having these experiences. How do I then bring the experiences back? All right, this is the hero's return. How do I bring the experiences back and discorporate? Share them so others so others can then go back and have those experiences. And none of that has anything to do with money. But yet we're willing to sacrifice our entire lives for this idea that if I got enough money, I could do what I want. But you couldn't do what you want because you don't have the logistical chops, you don't have the internal fortitude, and you don't have the expectations or the ability to want what you have and have what you want in place to actually be able to be settled when you get what you want. You could buy it. You could buy it. You could make $1 billion.
You'd be a hungry ghost.
All right.
Right?
Trope Drew time. There was a day when I woke up and I was watching a podcast. And I realized that the host of the podcast sold his supplement business so he could pay for famous people to be on his podcast so that he could become a motivational speaker. But when you listen to him talk, he's not settled.
Does he seem kind of like a live wire? Like he just isn't...
He seems like he's just perpetually searching and doesn't even want to find.
Like, well, this is just clearly the next thing that I should be doing, right? This is...
The amount of people who have supplement companies...
Yeah.
and sell them to become motivational speakers, like Jocko Willenick now.
Yeah.
Joe Rogan.
Would you call Joe a motivational speaker?
100%.
He does. He's got some pretty
100%.
Pretty nice rants. Yeah.
It's so Tim Ferriss. It's so played out, honestly, that the day I woke up and I realized I am
existential crisis.
I am walking this path that everybody has walked, right?
And you're the guy that likes to find his own way up the mountain.
Yep. And so what I realized was, you know what? I think the worst thing in the world is to get paid to say other people's words and become famous for saying other people's things. I'd rather have one sentence that maybe somebody remembers in like 50 years.
Sure. Yeah.
That would be fine.
I feel that.
So that's the key. How do you want to die? What is the conditions under which death is okay, acceptable? And then put that at the top. And then all the logistics will be you will be okay with them.
I like it, man.
And this will prevent you from just selling out. You don't want to be the guy running to chase down your evil self to try to kill them.
But it is okay to grind for a purpose.
100%.
More than okay, in fact.
Most of what you do will be 95% grinding. And 5% in those moments. But if you're aware of the fact that the grinding leads to those moments, then there's Zen in the grind. Huh. That's a good book title.
Zen and the Grind. That will be the name of this episode, probably.
That would be a good one.
Or a subtitle. Maybe it's a subtitle.
I think that's no, I would title it that because if we go back,
Zen and the Grind.
Yeah.
Colon.
Because that's what it is. Truthfully, going to the gym for me now for 3 hours, it is just as pleasurable as hiking. It's just a grind I'm very comfortable with. Just like for you to sit down and play your guitar for 3 hours. You told me a bunch of times that that's like a perfectly fun way to spend an afternoon.
It is, yeah. Especially when I have a point. That's why I like the cover band I'm doing, because it's this constant, just really simple grind, and I'm like, I can do that. That is achievable. I can do that right now.
Yeah. So once I got this
A lot easier to get gigs.
Yep. Once I got this climbs that I wanted to do going to the gym, I know exactly which leg muscles I'm working out, and I know exactly, more importantly, what muscles I'm not working out. There's no bench press when you're like training for climbing.
Yeah,
No curls or triceps or there's no upper body. It's just every day is leg day.
No glamour muscles, core and legs. Yeah.
That's it. Just every day is leg day. And you know what? Normally I hate that. But now, every day is leg day. Awesome. Because I know why I'm doing it.
There you go.
Zen and the grind.
Zen and the grind. Every day is leg day.
If you know why every day is leg day, then every day that is leg day is a good day.
That's funny. All right.
Well, I'm Drew.
I'm Bryan.
And we are the Men Who Stare at Cups, live from Phoenix Ridge Studios.
Yeah. This makes this room much cooler.
Thank you for listening. Like, comment, subscribe, do the deals.
Ask us some questions.
That would be nice.
We'd really like that.
What are you struggling with? What are you struggling with?
Not just in the comment section, but if we can remember, which we will, take some notes.
Yeah, join our Telegram.
We will talk to you on the Telegram. We do have a Telegram, don't we?
We do. We should post our Phoenix Ridge We will post the Phoenix Ridge Telegram in the description. We're more than welcome to join.
Yeah, come hang out.
All right. Thanks.